Hey everybody, this is the B-Lit podcast. This is something I'm trying out. I've wanted to do a podcast for freaking years, but I never got around to doing it. Um, I just said screw it. So I'm going to do three podcasts, and we're going to tweak it from there. And if it's something that you guys really like, really respond to, we'll keep going with it. If you guys don't really like it, if, just not getting much traction with it, then yeah, we'll leave it after the three. But we're putting three down. We're gonna do three, and so hopefully you guys will enjoy the format that I've finally come to. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, just gonna dive right in. um, Up on the schedule of things to talk about. First, I want to talk about EVO. Then I'm going to talk about an anime that I watched and probably rant about it because it had no freaking ending and it ticked me the heck off. And then I'm going to end with a Suicide Squad review. I actually pre-recorded it as soon as I got back from watching the movie. So you'll notice that in that recording I'm kind of tired. So please forgive me for that. It was after midnight trying to record that, and I hadn't had sleep for pretty much the entire week at that point. So please forgive me for that. But what I actually wanted to do with kind of talking about movies and anime is I think I'm probably going to do it more so for movies. But what I want to do is kind of discuss a movie each podcast. The next one that I'd like to do after discussing Suicide Squad, is Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. Because it's actually fairly interesting how much was different from the theatrical release. And I'd really like to talk about that. After that, I'm not entirely sure, but I might be kind of mixing the anime and movie thing by talking about Ghost in the Shell. I haven't decided, but I want to kind of let you guys know ahead of time so that if you guys want to watch it, then you can watch it during the week, and then when the podcast comes around, we can have a discussion on it, which I think might be pretty cool. So anyway, first things first, EVO this year. Now, I could not believe that the fighting game community actually filled out a stadium. I really couldn't believe it. And earlier in the day, when you had the grand finals for like Marvel and stuff, you saw a lot of empty chairs, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm thinking we're not gonna fill all this stuff up. This is freaking massive. How in the world are we gonna fill up this freaking stadium? And then this is gonna be on ESPN2, and people are gonna see a bunch of empty freaking chairs. I was freaking out. But as the day kept going, those chairs started filling out, and eventually to see that stadium filled with people watching Street Fighter V, filled with people who were so freaking excited to see that, it was amazing. It was freaking amazing. I've been part of the fighting game community, watching streams, playing games, and all that kind of stuff for a while. I'm not entirely sure exactly how long. I'd say maybe 7 or 8 years now. It's been a while. And yeah, I'm not super OG, but I've been there for a while, and I really never expected to fill out a stadium. The League of Legends guys, the StarCraft stuff. I thought, yeah, they'll do the stadium things, but we'll stay relatively small but dedicated. I didn't expect us to get to this point, and one of the things that I'm kind of scared about is the future. If we get bigger, if this really does take off, what are the ramifications? Do we lose that special spirit that we have? Do we lose the ability to talk a lot of crap? Part of it I don't think is a huge loss. if a-holes can't be a-holes, oh darn. You know? Um, but taking too much of that away kind of waters down what made the fighting game community so special to a lot of people. You know, I kind of like having, you know, a little elbow nudge, you know, to everyone. You know, I enjoy the Mike Ross fourth place jokes. You know, um, I want to keep some of that special flavor, but I do want to fill out stadiums. I do want to get big. I do want to be on ESPN2. And I think that one of the big things that's going to happen is we're going to have to try to find that middle ground where we keep what's special about our community while still opening ourselves up to newcomers who, you know, may not completely fit with the community that we've kind of created. But one of the best things about this EVO and the success of this EVO has been essentially the fallout, because now that EVO just filled a stadium, what is everyone else going to do? Jabali on Twitter just showed getting a much bigger venue. And I think he might have actually been showing off a kind of arena place for CEO as well. And that is amazing. Now, EVO has made everyone step their game up, and CEO is taking charge. They're heading full force into the future. And that's great. That is amazing. That's exactly what I want. And I'm so happy that we were able to essentially prove ourselves as being viable, you know, as being a viable source of entertainment, and having the numbers behind us. You know, we're real. And I love that now with the success of EVO, I really do see a big turn everywhere else. Everyone else is going to have to step it up, and that is great. That's great for us, and I'm so excited. So leave comments in the comment section if there's anything that you'd like to add on to that. Next topic. Oh my gosh, I just looked at the title and it instantly made me go back to being freaking angry. Shigurui Death Frenzy, I think it is. Okay, so a big thing for me is that I don't want to watch really long anime series anymore. I stopped watching the Naruto anime. Crap, I don't even remember where it was. Had to have been after. Was it after? I don't know. I don't know when I stopped watching it. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just switched over to the manga and read the manga and just never looked back. I never even associated with the anime anymore. Whenever I discussed Naruto, I was not even talking about the anime. It was anything I said, you know, at that point was about the manga. You know, I just completely disowned the anime. I can't do that. I can't do it again. I can't sit through, you know, if an anime is 100 episodes, I'm not watching it. Plain and simple. It could be the best anime in the world. I am not watching it. I'm just not doing it. So when I saw, I'm just going to say Death Frenzy, it was 12 episodes, 12 or 13. I can't recall. Probably 12. And I thought, okay, cool. The art looks really cool. The setting, the story seems pretty cool. I'll dive in. And I was hooked in the first episode. So let me tell you just a little bit about the first episode. In the first episode, there is a lord who wants to see an exhibition from samurai, and he wants them to use real swords. Generally, they would use wooden swords for show, but this lord is a little out there, and he wants real swords to be used. So they bring in these samurai, and the first samurai that comes out is missing an arm. And people are starting to think, well, what's going on here? You know, are they just bringing out these sorry guys so that, you know, if someone dies, it won't be that big of a loss, you know? And then the next guy that they bring out is limping. And not only is he limping, but he's blind as well. And they stand out in the middle of the area, and all eyes are on them. And they take their stances. And one of the best things that this show did was really draw on tension and that moment before action. The moment before action in this series was almost everything. And the action happened so quickly that it, in a way, it was almost an afterthought. But it was okay. It worked. It was all about the tension before the thing happens. Which is not to say that the action was not good. It was very good. But most of the attention was on the tension. So they assume stances, and the stances that they take are, of course, very unique because these guys can't really fight in the same way that most other samurai could fight. So they stand there, and the anime does these really cool X-ray shots, and you kind of see their muscles twisting, and it was so great to have just that moment right before the action, and everything is building. You are so ready to see what's going to happen, and then it goes into a flashback, and it tells the story. The whole series is about telling the story of these two samurai as they get to that exhibition. Now, it was a great story. I loved it. I was enjoying every moment of it, and I will say that the pace was fairly slow at times. It was very Japanese. It was very, very Japanese. But I loved it. I really, truly did. And the action scenes were crazy. Absolutely insane. The whole... all the characters felt very, very real. Amazing. It was a great freaking series. I loved it. But then I get to the last episode. And I get to the last episode, and I realize, wait a minute. Dude still has his arm. You know, this guy doesn't have a limp yet. Are we gonna finish this? Is this thing coming to an end? They've got to tell a lot. There's only 2 minutes left. I don't think they can do this. I don't think they're gonna do this. I think I'm screwed. And I was. They left without telling the story. There was no ending. The whole thing leading up to that exhibition was supposed to be the ending. How it turned out was supposed to be the ending. Not only did we not come back to the exhibition, we don't even know how those guys got to those points where they were entering the exhibition. It wasn't over. The anime wasn't over. But I believe this anime was done in 2007. So if it wasn't finished by now, it's not getting finished. So I had to hold that. And I was not happy. And so I go to read the manga, to look at how much is the manga. Holy crap, there's so much to read. And the art in the manga is actually pretty good. It's very nice. But I don't know if I want to go through all of that. That's a pretty heavy time commitment, and I just don't know when I'm going to find it. You know? So let me know if you watched Shigurui Death Frenzy, or whatever. Let me know what you thought of it. No manga spoilers, because I'm gonna try. I'm gonna freaking try, but it's gonna take a while. Man, I was so ticked off. Holy crap. I cannot even tell you how upset I was. Oh gosh. It was a great anime, and to not have an ending. There's a difference between having a bad ending and not having an ending. This just didn't have an ending. You don't know what happened. It didn't even go back to like showing them in their tent space and then like about to attack or anything like that to like make you think, oh well, who won? It wasn't even that. They didn't even go back. They weren't even done. They weren't even halfway there. And they're just done. And that's it. That's freaking it. Anyway, I watched Suicide Squad yesterday. And as I'm recording this, today is Friday. I do want to remind you before I go over that it was a pre-recorded clip, and the review, I'm sorry, was pre-recorded, and it was done a little bit after midnight. I had a long day, so please excuse me if my voice in the review is a little rough. Also, it's probably going to be a while. It's a long review. I did edit quite a bit down, but I was still very talkative. You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna put it there. Let it speak for itself. So I will be right back after the review is done to kind of wrap up the podcast. So I will see you in a few minutes. Take it away, Past Beelit. Alright, so it's a little bit after midnight right now, and I'm a little bit tired. Saw Suicide Squad, got dinner, hung out with some friends for a while. So yeah, I'm I'm kind of tired, and you can probably hear it in my voice at this time. But I wanted to get these thoughts out as quickly as possible, right after having seen it, so that I didn't forget anything. And I was able to try to keep my thoughts a little bit closer. One of the things that overall I enjoyed Suicide Squad, I should say, right off the bat. Do I think it's perfect? No, I don't think any movie is perfect. But I think the early reviews painted a very negative picture of the movie, which I don't think was very fair. Well, I don't think the message that those reviews gave was very fair. And one of the things that I do want to point out with reviews is that some reviews are not legitimate. And when I say that, I mean if you don't state why you thought something was bad, your review is meaningless. If you can't explain to me why a movie was bad, and if at no point you can't even, if you cannot even tell me the tone of a movie was bad, or the pacing in the movie was bad, or that the characters were inconsistent, or anything like that, if you can't explain that to me in a review, and if you can't at least try to give some kind of example without getting into a spoiler, I realize that's not always possible, but if you can't at least tell me why you think there is a weakness in something, then I don't feel as though you gave me a genuine review. You may have had those reasons, but if you don't give them to me, then how am I supposed to interact with your review? It becomes a meaningless review. It just becomes, 5 or 6 paragraphs of nothing, of just nothing, and there was no point in you having written it, and there was no point in me having read it. If you cannot put something on the table, if you cannot discuss something, your review is meaningless. That is how I feel. So you can disagree, but as far as I'm concerned, you have to tell me something in order for me to respect your opinion about something. That's how it is in all things, and that's how it is in a case of movies. And one of the things that I saw a lot in these reviews were just kind of saying the movie was bad and spending, 3 or 4 paragraphs just kind of crap talking the movie, but not really giving out these really fair, grounded things that you could actually hold on to and interact with. And it's not that difficult to say the pacing was off, and to say that maybe some parts moved too quickly for you, or that some parts moved too slowly. Maybe that the first part of the movie was too something and the second half was too something. That's not a spoiler. You can say that, but if you don't, then how in the world am I supposed to interact? How in the world am I supposed to get anything from your review? You're just telling me, take my word for it, without me proving anything to you, without me earning anything from you, that this movie is just utter garbage. And it's not utter garbage. I really don't feel that way. The first half of the movie was different from the second half of the movie, but for me, it was marked in a I guess it was marked in a way that just kind of felt natural. It's very easy to be, very lighthearted and jokey when there's nothing on the line. These guys have just been locked up in jail the whole time. It's kind of easy to be snarky. It's kind of easy to talk crap. But then when you've got a bomb strapped in your neck, which isn't a spoiler, by the way, that's how the Suicide Squad functions. When you've got bombs strapped in your neck that could go off if you go against orders, and you're running into a crazy situation, it's just more serious. And this actually reminds me, one of the things that a lot of people were saying, and this is something that they also held to Man of Steel and Batman v Superman as well, was that DC was trying to catch up to Marvel. And okay, even before I go into that, I just want to kind of lay down for the record, I don't consider myself a Marvel fan, and I don't consider myself a DC fan. I consider myself to be an X-Men fan and a Batman fan. And my knowledge of those two universes stem from those two places. I really, before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I didn't give a crap about most of Marvel. Alright, I liked the X-Men. That was what I cared about. And my knowledge of the Marvel Universe was based on the X-Men. It started at the X-Men and it branched out from there. But if there was something in the Marvel Universe that was not related to the X-Men, I didn't know it and I didn't care to know it. Same thing with DC. My knowledge started at Batman and expanded from there. If there was something that was unrelated to Batman, I don't care. And so over the years, you start to expand from those points, and you start to gain a knowledge of those different characters that are closer to either Batman or the X-Men respectively. And so you naturally accumulate more knowledge, and so you'll be more interested in properties that you know about after you've gotten to them from that point. But I don't consider myself to actually be a fan of really either side. I enjoy some stories from those sides, but I just don't consider myself a fan per se. Now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I know a heck of a lot more about Marvel, and I've started liking more characters in Marvel because of being introduced to them, and I like their movie characters as well, who they are in the movies. But I'm not going to go too far into that. A lot of people are trying to kind of compare DC to Marvel. That's what I wanted to get to. And first, I don't think that that's really smart. I don't think it's fair. Um, and I don't know why you would do it. There's almost this notion that there's only one way to make a comic book movie, and it's to do it the way that Marvel has been doing it. And I reject that because I reject the premise of comic book movies, one, existing in the first place. And I think the way that people have started to think of them, like the phrase comic book genre, I don't think that exists. If you look at something like Captain America, the character was created in comics, yes, but are you going to tell me that the Winter Soldier is in the same genre as Ant-Man? That's kind of rough. Are you going to compare Iron Man to Guardians of the Galaxy? I don't think a superhero genre actually exists. I think that that's something that was created by people who either have something against the movies or haven't watched them, or just need a talking point. I'm going to go through the things that I didn't really like about the movie, and then we'll maybe touch back on reviews if necessary. One of the things I didn't like about the movie was some of the one-liners. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. And I feel like the big problem with one-liners is that no one cares if you're throwing out one-liners as long as they're working. But if one or two don't work, one-liners are special like that. You could hit 95% of them, but if one of them didn't work, you remember the one that didn't work. I feel like that's kind of the drawback to one-liners. You've got to be careful with them. And I think there were a few that not necessarily didn't work, but didn't work as well as you might have wanted them to. They didn't accomplish the job as well as they could have. And so that was kind of a weak point for me. Another thing that was kind of weird was the use of songs. These were like official songs that official songs. Gosh, I'm tired. These were songs like from Eminem, Queen, drawing some blanks, but one of the big things that kind of like shocked me was the Eminem song. Was it I don't know, is it Guess Who's Back, Guess Who's Back, Guess Who's Back, Guess Who's Back, Guess Who's Back? That one. That some of the songs just came in at very odd times, and I feel that they were there to try to create a very lively mood and kind of play off of a sense of nostalgia and happiness that those songs are kind of associated with, and they worked, but they were kind of jarring at the same time. So I do feel as though the music was kind of odd in some places, and I wasn't completely happy with when the music came in and the song choice. Some of it felt just a tad bit forced. So that was definitely a negative as well. The tone of the movie, I think I actually kind of talked about that in the beginning. Actually, no, one more thing that I didn't kind of like. So the last weakness that I want to talk about has to do with the big bad of the movie. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, and I'm not going to go too far into it. But you might have discerned this from the trailers, by looking through the cuts and stuff that they make as they're doing their action shots. There is the swarm of bad guys that are like minions that you can just mow down and whatever. It's a common kind of trope that that movies use, not just movies with superheroes, but just a lot of movies, a lot of media in general. It's a very common trope that you find. And then when you take down the big thing, all the small ones go down too. I really hate that. I really hate that. It's so freaking annoying. Um, Gosh dang it. You would think that at this point movie studios would get the picture that people don't want to keep seeing that same thing happen over and over again. That people are tired of, the destroying the mothership, destroys all the little underlings and stuff like that. We understand that you have to create, a big threat, and you create that big threat by having essentially an army, because it's very quick to kind of create this sense of overwhelming odds by just having crazy numbers. And I get that, we all understand that, but it's become a crutch, and it's a crutch that needs to be kicked out from under the arm. It's enough. We've had enough. It's stupid. Yeah, that's it for the negatives that I wanted to talk about, the things that really sat with me. Now I'm going to get to the positives. One of the things that was talked about a lot was the flashbacks, and honestly, I didn't feel the same way that a lot of critics felt about the flashbacks. That was one of the big things that a lot of critics were kind of talking about and kind of complaining about, and I didn't feel the same. I thought the flashbacks were fine. I didn't think that they were unwelcomed. I liked seeing the flashbacks. I liked understanding these characters. I enjoyed specifically the flashbacks involving Harley and the Joker. Will Shot, which I will get to later. I enjoyed those flashbacks, and one of the big things is when you're watching a long movie, you can tell when the movie is good because you don't know how long the movie is, and you don't feel like it's dragging on. When I was watching the movie, I didn't feel like the movie was dragging on. I didn't feel like the flashbacks were, interrupting the movie. I was okay with them. I liked them. And I didn't feel as though, I didn't feel the movie, so to speak. I didn't feel the time going by watching the movie. I was just watching the movie. I was just enjoying the movie. I didn't feel anything happening. I didn't feel this movie dragging on. I didn't feel the presence of the movie. I was just watching it. And I maybe that's just one of those things that I felt differently about from a lot of the critics. I just didn't. I wasn't really hurt by them, and I didn't feel a break in the flow of the movie with those flashbacks. They were welcomed, and I think they were done well. So anyway, I actually really wanted to talk about the characters themselves, because I think that is where the positives really shine. And after thinking about the positives of the movie, I realized it's just the characters. I liked the characters. The characters were the movie for me. And so I wanted to kind of go down quickly and talk about the main characters of the movie, because some characters were not main characters. I'm going to be completely blunt with you. All right, first up, Amanda Waller. That was definitely Amanda Waller. I'm okay with some things being changed here and there with characters, as long as it's done well. What they decided to do with Amanda Waller was to rip her out of the comic books. And that is exactly what they did. That is what they accomplished. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they went for. And they clearly did it. That was freaking Amanda Waller. So as far as if you want to see something that is just faithfully adapted, Amanda Waller, 100% straight from the comics, ripped right out of it and thrown into the movie. If I were to give her a rating, I would give her, you know what? I'd give her an 8. I'd give her an 8. Very, very solid. You know what? Maybe even more than that, honestly. I'm going to say, crap, I think I'm going to go with a 9. I think I'm going to go with a 9 on Amanda Waller. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. They nailed what Amanda Waller needed to be, and it worked well in the movie. She played the part that she was meant to play in the movie very, very well. No problems. No problems at all. A character I didn't expect to like was Rick Flag, but they made him work in this. I think I felt the way I was supposed to feel about him in the beginning, and I felt the way I was supposed to feel about him in the end. If I were to give a rating to him, you know what? I'm gonna say. I mean, he was pretty solid. I'm gonna say 7.5. I'm gonna say 7.5 for Rick Flag. Next, I want to talk about Will Shot. And by Will Shot, I mean Deadshot. If you didn't get it, whenever I see Will Smith, I it's very hard to see his character. He's just that level of stardom that it's hard to see the characters that he plays, and you normally just kind of see Will Smith. And you know, it was no different here. I think that they did a good job with his relationship to his daughter, which is become a very strong weakness for Deadshot. I'm sorry. Again, tired. It's kind of been established as a weakness for him, and Will Smith, I mean, he knows how to freaking. It's not really a surprise that Will Smith knows how to have a relationship on screen. You know, it's no surprise whatsoever. And well, would this be a spoiler? Depends on your knowledge of Suicide Squad. You know what? I'm gonna err on the side of caution, and I'm just not gonna say it. I will say that he had a very enjoyable relationship to Rick Flag. And if you don't know, you know, Deadshot's personality, and you don't know much about the Suicide Squad, you might not understand what that relationship would be. But it was fairly entertaining. I liked their little dynamic going on. And I also kind of liked the dynamic between Deadshot and Harley. Really Deadshot and everybody, honestly. But if I were to give a rating to Deadshot, you know, this is a little rough. I think I'm gonna go with an 8 for Will Shot. Pretty well done. Seemed fairly consistent. Yeah, I had some moments here and there. Yeah, I'm gonna give him an 8. I think he was pretty alright. So Harley is probably going to be the lowest rating that I'm going to give one of the characters. And that's not to say that she was bad, but you know, I just think she earned a lower rating for me and my enjoyment of her character. There was one scene though that I really liked with Harley, that stood out with all the other scenes, and it was a kind of a real moment with Harley. And I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say one key word, which will give you absolutely no freaking idea what I'm talking about unless you were to go see the movie. I'm just going to say helicopter. That's it. After that scene, there's like 5 seconds of her face or something. It's just a very short amount of time, and it worked. It freaking worked. I really liked it, and I liked what happened afterwards. Man, I liked it. That's probably going to be one of my top scenes from the movie. But as far as Harley goes herself, my enjoyment of her, she was kind of responsible for a lot of the one-liners, and not all of them hit, or hit as hard as I'm sure they were intended to. They also provided quite a few butt shots, and I'm not really complaining about that one. But it did get a little weird, when this stuff was happening and you just see butt, But I'm gonna give her a 7. I'm gonna give her a 7. And now for the Joker. Now this is gonna be a place where some people are probably going to be a little confused with how I feel here. As I mentioned earlier, I am a fan of Batman. And being a fan of Batman almost kind of means you have to be a fan of the Joker. Almost. I mean, yeah, there's probably like 1 or 2 dudes out there, who aren't. But, pretty much you have to be a fan of the Joker. And Heath Ledger's Joker, for me, is the best Joker. Then you have Jack Nicholson. And I'm talking about like movie-wise. If I were to put my favorite Jokers, it might be... Wow. I'm not sure if Mark Hamill would be my first Joker. I'm not entirely sure. It's between him and Heath Ledger, and then after that would be Jack Nicholson. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to give that some more thought later. But that's hard. That's tough. When you've got heavyweights that you're trying to go up against in that Joker mantle, that is hard. And this Joker is not like any other Joker that we've seen. And I'm glad. I'm glad that I don't have to say, well, Mark Hamill did that laugh better. Well, Heath Ledger played that part better. I feel like this Joker almost has no idea what he's doing in the craziest, scariest possible way. Heath Ledger's Joker did things to prove a point. He said that he was, a dog without a leash, but that's not true. He had a point to everything that he was doing. He was crazy, but he had a point. He had an end goal. He had a message that he wanted to get across. I don't think this Joker does. I really don't think this Joker does. He's crazy. He's just insane. And he's a dangerous kind of insane. He reminds me of kind of like a crackhead or a heroin addict or crystal meth user, or all of these things just wrapped up into one. He's just gone. He's just freaking gone, and I don't get him. I don't get him. He's perfect. And for a while I was kind of iffy on him when I first saw him, He is so drastically different. But then when he came in and had this sense of confidence about his actions, that's the point where I saw that there was a mind in there. But holy crap, I don't know what that mind is thinking. And that's exactly what you want. It's just another way of portraying that kind of character. That thing that Joker is. And it worked. I liked it. I see a very strong potential in the Joker that they're creating here. I still don't really know Batman's relationship to this Joker. But crap, man, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see where this Joker goes. Now, as far as the creation of this Joker and who I think this Joker is, I'd give him a 10 out of 10. I am sold. I am sold on this Joker. As far as he was in the movie, as far as he fit in the movie, the Joker's part was very minimal. He was strewn throughout because he did play a certain part for a while. It was a part that ultimately could have been a throwaway. It could have been something that he just completely took out of the movie and achieved through some kind of different means what he did. He wasn't necessary to the movie, but I'm glad they put him in. I'm glad I got to see him. I'm glad I got to experience a little sneak peek at who this character is, and a little bit about his relationship with Harley, which I thought those were some of the best flashbacks in the movie. Well, no, they were the best flashbacks in the movie. So I'm glad he was in the movie. His part in the movie was kind of minimal, but I still felt his presence throughout the movie, even though he wasn't on the forefront of it. Now, what I will give his character in the movie, I'm going to give him an 8. As far as the design of the character and the potential of it, I give him a 10. But as he worked in the movie, I want to give him an 8. The acting of it was very, very good. But, just fitting in with the movie and all that kind of stuff, I'm sorry. I'm tired. I need to wrap this up. So overall, what would I give the movie out of 10? I want to say before I give this rating that I always reserve the right to change my mind. I always reserve the right to watch a movie again and change a score, or to not change a score. But as it is right now, at this very moment, being well past midnight now, after many retakes and edits, what will I give this movie? I'm gonna give it a 7.5. No, I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna give this movie, I don't know. I'm stuck between 7 and 7.5. I did enjoy this movie, and I'm so concerned about the critical reception, and I'm scared that people aren't going to want to see the movie because they're going to see so many critics saying bad things about the movie, and they're going to be scared away from it, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to be scared away from this movie, and some of the things that the critics have said has just been way over the top. A lot of times I can agree with negative parts that people point out. One of the things about Batman v Superman that was very common was pacing. And yeah, it did have some pacing issues. It absolutely did. And I can normally agree with parts that critics find fault in. Normally, I do. But in this case, I I just didn't see it. I either didn't see it, or I didn't see it anywhere near the severity that these critics were seeing it and regarding it. And to be fair, I don't always see it in the same severity. And a lot of times a critic will point out, this, and this, and I'll say, yeah, this, and this. And they might say, I ended up liking the movie, and I might say, oh, I ended up not liking it. Or I ended up liking it, and they ended up not liking it. Even though we agreed on the weaknesses of the movie, to us, maybe the strengths were a little bit different, or maybe the severity of those weaknesses was different. In this case, some of it I don't see at all. And I just have completely different opinions on what was bad in the movie. So anyway, would I encourage you to go see the movie? If you are interested in the movie, if it seems like it's your kind of movie from the trailers, go see it. I don't I really don't think it's as bad as the critics have been painting it out to be. It is by no means a Fantastic Four. It's just, this has been really insane, the critic reception. If you're interested in seeing the movie, maybe check with a critic that if you do know some critics that you have similar opinions to, or that you at least understand the opinions to, if you are concerned, because these critic reviews have definitely made people think a little bit, and I fully understand being hesitant to go after this. But as far as I'm concerned, if you know a lot about my taste in movies, and the ratings that I give to different movies, and you at least understand what my opinion is, then me telling you that I think it's worth seeing will give you some information. And I do think it is worth seeing. If the trailers look good to you, I think it's worth seeing. So anyway, that covers my review of Suicide Squad, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sorry if my voice was a little low, a little tired. As I mentioned, it is pretty late. So thank you for listening, and take it away, future Beelit. Thank you, past Beelit. So this concludes the podcast. Let me know if there are any things that you would like in the next podcast, any adjustments that you'd like, any topics that you'd like, and if there's a little thing with the format that you think might be nifty to try out. Maybe get somebody else to do the podcast with me. That is fairly hard to do, and that's one of the reasons why it's taken so long to even do a podcast, trying to get timings to come together so that people can do it, and plus the technical issues of trying to record both people. But I can try. So leave any suggestions in the comment section. Next week I will be talking about Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it up to you. Tell me in the comment section, do you want Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, Killing Joke, which just came out recently, or Ghost in the Shell? All right, tell me what you would want to discuss on the next podcast, and I will definitely do that. So any other topics you want, put it in the description. I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much if you watched through the whole thing. If you did watch through the whole thing, leave a comment saying Jury is waifu for laifu, and then I will know that you watched the whole thing, and I will give you a solid round of applause, because you will definitely have earned it. So anyway, yes, I will talk to you guys hopefully on the next podcast. See ya.